Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Bookends podcast number one of, shall we say, 1,000, Rose?
Let's be ambitious, yeah.
So, my name is Rob, and I'd like to introduce my co-host.
I'm Rose. No, I don't like how this has already started. Could you kind of introduce me like I'm a guest?
No, you're the co-host. You're the co-host to the host, which is me. Have you ever seen The American Office before?
You ask me this all the time.
So in that, it's the guy's the assistant to the regional manager. So you're the co-host to the host.
No. Both co-hosts on the same sofa.
Yeah, so this is a conversational and review type podcast where we review a book segment by segment and just share our love and passion of books with our aim to really share, like I said, share the passion and the love and get people reading a lot more. Rose?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I guess it makes sense, I suppose, to start with why we've decided to do it. Like you say, yes, there is that passion for books, but I suppose I think reading is probably our biggest, would you say it's our biggest mutual interest? I mean, we've got several.
Probably our only, well, okay, I was going to say it's our only mutual interest.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I guess so. It's a big passion of mine, sure.
So it's our, sort of one of our main mutual interests, and I guess, and something that we spend a lot of our time talking about. And I think it's probably only a few weeks ago, it feels like longer, you suggested that we do a book club, didn't you? Like just between us, and I think you were struggling with reading. So you enjoy reading, but you were struggling and hadn't sort of trying to get back into it. So yeah, I was really inspirational, motivational. Rob was in awe of it, and he said, "You know what, we're gonna."
I just think like you go to a movie with friends to watch a movie. I think reading a book alongside someone and talking about the characters, it just adds to the suspense and the enjoyment of it, really. And it's good to talk about things, definitely.
Yeah, so that's what we were doing. So we will go into it in a minute, what sort of with the book club side of it. But yeah, we decided to read together, found a book together, and then I think it was only a few days ago when we were having our book club chat that Rob decided that we should try and record these chats because of how, intellectual and
yeah, that brings us nicely onto our next bit to say that we're not like academics. We're not like, we don't know all the fancy words for reading books and stuff. We just have a passion for it, and we love to read, and we want to share that love with you guys. So don't expect us to go in depth into the prose and the foreshadowing and all that sort of stuff. We're just going to talk about the books and share the love or the dislike for them.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's very informal, isn't it? And it's just more us chatting about what we're reading, how we're finding it. And I guess from a podcast point of view, it's just to get our listeners and, hundreds and thousands, hopefully.
Million.
That's the aim. Million. Well, God, yeah, millions.
No, like
it's just encourage it, isn't it? Encourage other people to read and read with us.
Exactly. And also, Rose, Rose is the brains of the operation. If you can just do the boring bit, please, about the our opinions being subjective and not please.
So part of setting up this podcast is we did have to do a little bit of background. I did this bit, I think, the legality side of it, and we do have to do a disclaimer at the beginning of every podcast just to say that any views or comments that we make on our books or because we think we might do books, poetry, whatever it is we happen to be reading. It is just mine and Rob's opinion, and it isn't those of the authors or anyone else. So just throwing that out there. So please don't try and hit us with lawsuits because we don't have any money.
And I think like the beauty of books is that they are so subjective, and what we'll talk about later. One of the reasons I love books is because it's your own. It passes through your own like filter system, that the experiences you've been through. The characters in your head are like your own, so it is very subjective, more so than movies. So there'll be things me and Rose will disagree with, things you might disagree with, but that's the beauty of it. We're all open to have a good constructive criticism topic. There'll never be any disrespect to any of the authors, because they're even writing 5 pages is better than anything I could ever do. So it's exciting times, Rose. I'm very excited for this podcast with you.
It is. And speaking of disagreements, this is actually technically our second podcast, isn't it? Because so earlier in the week when we agreed to do this podcast together, we thought we'd do a test audio call, didn't we?
Yeah.
And audio test and video which I agreed to. And then it was recorded. Rob decided that should be the first one, and he was a lot more prepared than I was.
Yeah.
And we had our first lovers tiff over that, I think.
It was absolutely gold. It was so amateurish, and it was just so brilliant. But on reflection, Rose, you're right. It was a bit too raw, to be honest. And I spoke over you quite a lot, and I apologise. I just got very excited. I had a lot of caffeine. So
we agreed that the first one would have a little bit more structure, and it would just be a bit of a feeler, wouldn't it? Just see what people think, see if people would listen to it again, and we'd just sort of throw it out there, say who we are, why we're doing it, and introduce our first book. So I guess, Rob, did you want to perhaps talk about that?
Yes. So our first book, which we're reading, is, oh gosh, can you do the last podcast, the really good one?
No, not our current one, our actual first book club book.
Yes. Oh, our first book that went wrong.
Yeah.
So we read a book of a very popular author, one I absolutely love, and Rose kindly agreed to read it with me. She never really read this author before, and it started well and then just turned into a bit of a dud. And I must admit, book club readers, bookends, we did kind of give up 3/4 of the way through, which we will not make a habit of doing, but we tried very hard, didn't we, Rose, with this one?
Yeah. Do you know what? And I think the lovely thing was with it, and I think we can say it was Stephen King. I think that's fair. Otherwise, yes, we can. What's the point?
Sorry, Steve.
What's the point of a book club review if we're not going to say what the book was? We can't just.
Rory, can we say his name? Can we?
Sorry, Rory's
apparently until we've got 1,000 followers, then he won't notice us, so it's okay.
Okay.
Thanks,
right.
Rory.
So the first one was a Stephen King book. Rob already had it, so we agreed that that would be our first one. That made sense. And I really love, with anything really, I love sort of pre-loved secondhand stuff, but particularly with books, I would rarely buy a new book. So I deliberately ordered a secondhand book of that from Amazon, and it turned up without a cover. So I had no blurb, and Rob as well, you hadn't really read into it, had you, on what it was about?
Yeah.
Sorry, you sound really bored then. Am I boring you?
No, sorry. No, sorry. Go on.
Sorry, Rob's sort of sitting there looking blank at me as I'm talking here. But yeah, neither of us had the blurb, so we didn't know what it was about. And both of us agreed that was a really nice way to read, to not sort of know anything about the plot, what to expect, and just it was really tense when every time we spoke, and we were messaging throughout the week, and we're just like, I have no idea what's going to happen, and this is really exciting. But it very quickly flopped. I'd say we probably got about 3/4 of the way through, and then I think you were keen to keep going, and I didn't want to. I said, you spend so much time reading a book, don't you? That's the difference.
Exactly. And then that's another segue into how we want to do this. So once we've read our first book that I chose, and I think I've chose a good one this time, Rose, hope you agree. Yeah. We will happily open it up to suggestions from our lovely listeners if we get any. And like if Barbara from Leicester wants to recommend a good book, who am I to tell her not to? So I'd love to. Barbara, if you're out there, recommend a good book. We'll have a read of it and we'll give you credit for it, and we'll remove you if it's a rubbish book. No, we want suggestions definitely for books, because we went on Goodreads, which is a great website actually. Please sponsor us. And I chose it based on the recommendations from that. So but we need some suggestions for future ones.
I will mention though, I think suggestions and Rob is a sore subject for me, because I did actually, how many suggestions have I made for you for books? They've all been vetoed. And I probably spent the best part of my Sunday last week trying to find a book that I thought me and Rob would like after Fairy Tale flopped.
You've named the book as well. Rory,
I did.
Can she name the book? He's going to Google it. Carry on.
Rory's looking stressed. I've ruined it on the first episode. We have to name the author in the book, otherwise this just isn't going to work.
Yeah, I mean, I love Stephen King, but he's one of my favourite authors. So Steve, please don't hate me.
He knows you personally, obviously, to take that. No, but you've completely. Oh yeah. So you picked Fairy Tale, which is fine. But any other thing that I've suggested since then, you've just said no to. So now I love that you're asking people that you don't know to suggest a book, and you're saying that you'll accept it and read it. But
and also Rose is a big reader and reads a lot and reading for many years, and I've sort of gone in and out of reading books and stuff like that, so I should really listen to your opinion more. But I'm looking forward to listening to the viewers and Barbara's recommendations in the future. I will not veto every book. So anyway, okay, let's move on. Is that okay with you, Rose? Can we move on? So let's talk about the book. So the book we are currently reading is, and I'm going to drum roll.
Okay.
Go.
Cool. We are reading The Secret History by Donna Tartt.
Pardon? Is that the sister of Bakewell?
Never gets old.
Told that joke on the podcast, and you didn't laugh at all then, but I appreciate your fake laugh there.
This
Rose.
time I laughed. It was a pity laugh, but it's so we've not read loads. I'm just going to throw that out there. And Rob, you're also a very slow reader, so we, I don't want them to expect too much of us.
Yeah, they are very long chapters though. So we're on chapter 2, but they are very long. So we're not going to say we're going to read a chapter every week. It could be more, it could be less. We're going to read a segment every week. We did make a bit of a bookie error by we Rose, with her amazing research skills, did Google like how to do a book club, what things you should do, and you found out, didn't you, Rose, that book club should be like 300 pages of a book, more than a massive epic that we've picked.
Yeah, so 300 is roughly to keep people I think just so it's not, you're not talking about the same book for so long, but you have picked a 600 pager with really long chapters and tiny font. So
I think we can smash it out in 6 sessions, 100 pages a week. Easy. Your reading speed as well.
Yeah, I can smash it out in a lot quicker than that. But
and we would love it if you guys, read along with us, and then you could message us on Instagram on our bookends thing and give us your thoughts and just read along with us. Really share the passion. It'd be exciting. Keep each other accountable, and it's okay if we don't like it or disagree about it. That's the beauty of it, and we welcome that.
I think a big thing to say though, if you have read the book that we're reading, please don't spoil it for us, because that would be awful. Obviously we're going to spoil it as we go along. If you've not read it, that's what we can't obviously review a book, finish a book and not talk about it without spoiling it. But please, if you've read a book that we've just started, don't ruin it for us, because that's really annoying, isn't it? We don't want that.
So we have read two chapters, chapter 2. And Rose, what are your thoughts so far? Tell us a bit about the protagonist.
What it's about. So we've got Richard. You say Papen, I'm going to say Papin because it's only one P, but
I say Papen. Thoughts in the comments below. Papen.
Right in. So Richard has managed to, I can't remember how he got it, but he's managed to obtain some scholarship to some fancy school it's in England, but he's from California, isn't it? So he's travelled for this, and he's not travelled before in his life. Comes from quite a sort of a poor background, so it's a huge opportunity for him. And he's quite overwhelmed by everything. And he's turned up at this school, doesn't know anyone, is a bit of an outsider. And he's, I think, in his first counselling session or sort of session with the counsellor, he's come across it's a Greek lesson, isn't it, or a Greek class with a really quite I don't know what word I'd use to describe it, a unique tutor, I guess, that's really selective on who he has in his class, and he's only got 5 students. And he's applied for that course and been rejected, and then he's sort of been watching these 5 students from afar, describing them, seems quite intrigued by them, really preoccupied. I wouldn't say he's following them around, but he's quite I don't even know the right word, but he has had contact with them, explained that he also has done Greek. They seem impressed, and he's now in this class with the other 5 pupils. They're
very unique pupils and quite loathsome at the moment. Some of them, like I can't I can't relate to them too much. I don't like a lot of them, but I'm sure that'll change.
They're very arrogant.
Very posh, very arrogant, but he's quite arrogant himself. But I think he's met his match with all these other kids.
And there's huge parts in the book, isn't there, that there's, so in the Greek classes there's huge text of their conversation all about the Greek philosophy, and there's a lot of Latin. And I know we've been talking, haven't we, like, are we supposed to be properly reading and taking this in, because it's quite a lot. And I think my view has been that that's been deliberately done to almost portray their sort of elitist and quite arrogant view of stuff. Would you agree?
And there's definitely like lots of discussions about morality and what it means to be happy and stuff, and I feel like that'll be foreshadowing, there you go, for later on. See, we are intelligent. I am. where they talk about morality and what makes people happy and a man's soul and stuff. Very interesting stuff, but it's very heavy at first, but it's intriguing. Very intriguing. But
Yeah. I think we weren't sure, were we? Even just a few pages in, straight away we were like, oh, I don't know. We're not sure if this is going to be a bit heavy for us. But you wanted something heavy, didn't you? You want something proper to get your teeth into. So
and there's definitely subtle undertones of something dark, and obviously it's called The Secret History. It's not. I think it's not just going to be about them going to school and living a happy life. There's going to be something dark happen, which I'm excited about.
That's how do we not even? I missed that. Sorry,
Can I just say, Rose looks really happy right now. Whatever this point is, I've never seen her look so happy. Go on.
I've literally just realised when you asked me what the book is about, the first bit of the book is about Bunny dying, in being dead, isn't it? So we know something awful happens.
Bunny is one of the characters, not his actual Bunny.
Sorry. So so we know straight away that somebody's killed. I think he's on a cliff, or we're not sure if he's murdered, but we know that there's a group of people that are involved in it. So now we're back with Bunny alive. Richard's just met Bunny and the crew, and we know that Bunny gets killed at some point. So dark is
it's got to me, because so the way it's structured is he's older now, Richard, and he's telling the story back about what happened. It's very much get Stand By Me kind of vibes. You ever seen the film or read the book? Stephen King. I
feel like you're doing Stephen King plugs now to make up the slate in his book.
So like it's got those kind of vibes, like that kind of aura about it, really, like a sadness. I feel like there's a sadness to this book.
I'm going to do a plug now for one of my favourite books, because I thought about it when I was reading it last night.
Let me guess what it is first.
You're not going to get it.
Let me guess.
But try. I'll be really impressed if you do.
I think your favourite book is...
You would know what my favourite books are. But that's not...
Favourite book, Pride and Prejudice.
No! What the hell? I'm not saying it's my favourite, I'm saying it's one of my favourite, and that there is a definite theme of Perks of Being a Wallflower in this, in the sense of it there being, if you've not read Perks of Being a Wallflower, please do, although it may be one that we do in our book club, because I really, really, really want Rob to read it. But just the sort of coming of age and having a misfit coming in and trying to sort of find a sense and a place and stuff, I think there's a definite vibe of that going on at the minute. And when I was reading last night, I did think there were similarities. And I think you've actually picked up similarities with Dead Poets Society, because we watched that together the other night.
Yeah, watched that the other week, because I got that sort of vibe with that about the professor and stuff. And that's a really, really good book. Rest in peace, Robin Williams, but really good film. Sorry, I think it's a book as well. Dead Poets Society. But yeah, Rose, what are your predictions about what's going to happen? Obviously, we're in this really early stages. Give us some predictions. Let's see if in a few weeks that we were right about things.
Well, I'm going to play it safe, because I think all the next few chapters are just going to be character building, and I think you're just going to learn more about each of the 5 characters. But you're obviously going to learn that through the protagonist's contact with them. So I think he's obviously going to build different relationships with each of them, and then learn the dynamics of each via Richard, if that makes sense, because they all seem to they already have different opinions of each other behind each other's back, don't they? Which is so I think there's a lot to come from that, I think.
It's a very character driven book so far, which is good, because we need to learn the backstory kind of thing. I think there'll be something with the professor. I think there'll be some secret meetings, secret clubs, and I feel like he'll dabble in something that's quite morally ambiguous. And the teenagers ish in secondary school. They'll probably go along with it, and they'll sort of find themselves in a very sticky situation, which could lead to Bunny's death at some point. It's intriguing. I just want to talk about the writing style. So I didn't find it too, oh god, it's going to sound so amateurish now. I didn't find it too wordy. It wasn't simplistic, but it wasn't too, I could follow the thread, I could follow what's going on.
I think some of it was quite heavy. Like I said, all the Latin bit was a bit much, but then by the time I think there's a scene, isn't there, where Bunny takes Richard for lunch and they just get wasted. That was really easy to flow. That got us into it. It broke up the sort of pretentiousness of it, didn't it? That was quite nice.
I can relate to that, Before we finish on this, Rose, a bit of a quick segment I'm going to introduce, which I didn't tell you about, and I'm sure you're going to be stressing about this. To see your face now. I feel like to get our love of this book, our love of books across to the nation, I picked out a little passage, and hopefully each week I'll pick out a little passage and just to read it out loud to let the viewers know what kind of language is in it and wordage. Though at the time I found those dinners wearing and troublesome, now I find something very wonderful in my memory of them. That dark cavern of a room with vaulted ceilings and a fire crackling in the fireplace, our face luminous somehow and ghostly pale. The firelight magnified our shadows, glinted off the silver flickered high upon the walls. Its reflection roared orange in the window panes as if a city were burning outside. The whoosh of the flames was like a flock of birds, trapped and beating in a whirlwind near the ceiling. And I wouldn't have at all been surprised if the long mahogany banquet table, draped in linen, laden with china and candles and fruit and flowers, has simply vanished into thin air like a magic casket in a fairy story. There is a recurrent scene from those dark dinners that surfaces again and again, like an obsessive undercurrent in a dream. Julian, at the head of the long table, rises to his feet and lifts his wine glass. "Live forever," he says. And the rest of us rise too, and we clink our glasses across the table like an army regiment crossing sabres. Henry and Bunny, Charles and Francis, Camilla and I. "Live forever," we chorus, throwing our glasses back in unison. And always, always that same toast: live forever.
Rob, I feel like I could kiss you right now.
Whoa. Hey up.
Because that paragraph is why I felt like it was really akin to Perks of a Wallflower.
Really?
Yeah.
That's mad.
Honestly, there's a bit in there where they talk. I think it's like that night, in that moment, we were infinite. That's like a line from Perks of a Wallflower. That's, I remember.
Isn't it amazing how like paragraphs like that can just give you goosebumps, man?
It did when you were reading. I thought, oh, I'm going to lose him to do an audiobook.
You can imagine, can't you, in that hall, clinking the glass, thinking life's brilliant, and there's that undercurrent of sadness and doom pending. And I love that. That's
where I think that foreshadow thing comes in. When I remember reading that, because the forever is in italics, isn't it? The last word in that. Yeah, I remember thinking, oh, it's not forever though, is it? Something's going to happen.
And that's why, and we'll get into this debate another time, but like that's why I just love books over films. And like I said last time on the podcast, which we didn't want to publish, is that like you could have the best ever film and come back out of it and think, God, that was amazing. And then by like tomorrow you forgot about it. But like the best ever book, you'll close it shut and you'll breathe deeply and you're like, wow. And those characters are in your head for weeks, months, and you get the goosebumps and all that. And that's why I just love the medium of reading.
Yeah, even more so when you can share it, because it's nice you talk about it with people.
Yeah, exactly.
It keeps them alive.
Makes it more alive. Yeah, definitely.
We'll be posting this, hopefully. I think we've said Spotify and hopefully YouTube, and we can arrange for that. I'll say we again when Rob can sort that out. And then we'll post it on the Instagram, and that's sort of going to be our main communication page, isn't it? So
every Monday?
Yes.
And why is that, Rose? What's the rationale for Monday? Tell us.
Because we hate Mondays and we want to inject a little bit of happiness to help people at the beginning of the week.
Absolutely.
Lovely.
So,
well,
Rose,
thanks for coming on and being a co-host.
Thanks for being the co-host to the host. Rose, where can people find us, please, on the big internet?
Where can they find us? As I say, Instagram, I think it's going to be our main one. Are we the... I can't remember. I created the page. I can't remember what it's called.
The_bookends podcast. Yeah. Find us on there. We'll sort the YouTube out and the Spotify later on. But yeah, find us on there. Feel free to comment and subscribe or whatever they say.
Like and subscribe. Yeah.
And well, what was it now? Last time we had a good tagline to the end of it, didn't we? So I say reading is so good for your mental health and everything. And so what did I say last time? If you're feeling... Oh no.
It's something about luck in a book.
Yeah, if you're feeling out of luck, read a book.
There we go.
So that was worth listening to, wasn't it? That was worth the 48 minutes of listening to.
I'd say so. Right.
It's been a pleasure. See you next week, guys.
Bye.